What's up, everyone? Isaac Payne here from Mom and Pop, and welcome to Small Business Conversations, where we interview small business owners from a wide variety of industries to hear their journey, their struggles, their wins, their losses, and all of their amazing products and services. Today, I got a special guest. We go way back, actually, probably 20 years or so. And he's come a long way as an entrepreneur. He's evolved so much over the years. And now he currently has a company that is a team of media professionals in Vancouver that help their clients reach a new level with their photography, videography, or event activations. They are a one-stop shop of professional photographers and videographers who bring a wealth of experience and knowledge to every project. Today I have the owner, founder of 360 Media, Justin Lam. Welcome, Justin.
Thanks, Isaac.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I mean, I thought about it too. Like, yeah, we do go back about 20 years or so, back to the old Sports Central days. I mean, you know what? Let's just take a little trip down memory lane. Just go back 20 years. What were you doing? I know you've had a few different businesses. Let's go back to the very beginning to when we first knew each other. We can give our audience a little trip down memory lane.
Well, when I first got to Sports Central, it was really an interesting time. I, at that point, was working in a co-op at a place called Athletics Massage Center out in Richmond, and they ran into some problems from a ethics standpoint, and they were being shut down. And as such, I kind of got tossed out, so to speak.
What
But then
year are
I
we
had
talking? Sorry.
oh, this would have been like early 2000. Like,
Okay.
yeah. So, and I got tossed out. And, because I got tossed out, because they had to close that clinic, I had a handful of these clients that I was working with doing active rehab. And at the time, there weren't really a lot of places I could go. I tried going to the local gym, a very popular gym, and I won't mention them here for all intents purposes, but they're a chain. But the model works so that they really want their internal trainers to handle all that workload, and not really open to having trainers and kinesiologists or therapists coming in to work on their behalf. And so I didn't really have a place to go. I kept searching, and I eventually found Sports Central, which was clear across the other side of the pond, so to speak, in Richmond. And I was fortunate enough that the owner would give me some time to chat and figure out a way for me to perhaps work there without having to do the traditional model of being a staff. Just because that model didn't really work when I was working with ICBC, WCB clients. And so I really needed to find a solution that worked for both of us. He really wanted to grow the healthcare side of it, and I don't know if you remember, but they had those offices in their front, and they were trying to fill those offices. Well, they didn't really ever fill them. I was the only real therapist that ever stood there for any extended period of time. But as such, I managed to build a clinic and have sort of program there. And I managed to garner the referrals from other therapists around Richmond that ultimately got us to where we were as a rehab company. So I mean that sort of goes up until probably, I would say, Sports Central ended somewhere in the 2004,
Okay.
2005, somewhere around there, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a trip.
Yeah, it is. And it's so wonderful because I mean, so many of the people that I did meet then, I'm still friends with. You being one of them, and then of course we have another friend of ours, Jeffrey.
Yeah.
Who I'm still friends with, and I've been so blessed and lucky that through that evolution between rehab and then now 360, I was able to be a part of your lives and milestones. So yeah, I don't know if you want me to go into how that transition happened.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, so that ended. You were a kinesiologist. What was the next leap after that?
So what happened was because I was doing a lot of manual therapy, so working with my hands and working with soft tissue, I started developing carpal tunnel, and it got really bad to a point where I was actually not able to hold a fork and knife. And actually today, I still don't hold a fork and knife or chopsticks very well. My hands go numb fairly easily, and so at that point, I already knew that I had to have an exit plan, and um, that happened probably right around the 2001, 2002 mark. I had already started to develop that issue. But because I was sort of knee deep in it, I needed to find a way out. Photography sort of fell into my lap. At first, when somebody recommended, when I was talking about it over a beer and whatnot, they said, "Well, why don't you do photography? Because you do it for fun, and you seem to be good at it." And I told everybody, "Well, who makes money and who makes a living off of photography?" I didn't see it as a viable industry, but I don't know why. Something else sort of sat inside, and it made me explore. And when I did explore, there weren't very many photographers listed in at that point the yellow pages and white pages. That's how far back it goes. You didn't have search engines at that point, so we were still flipping through, and there weren't very many of them. And so I said, well, maybe I'll give it a shot. And I was very fortunate. I had, when I first went out, um, I had a lot of no's at first. A lot of people in the industry who I asked if I could shadow them, they wouldn't let me. They were very tight. They held, sort of that position that you're a new person. I don't want another competitor coming into my space. But I was really fortunate that one of my clients who owned a banquet hall down the road, one of their youngest brothers said, "Hey, you know what? That's okay. Why don't you come out and you can shadow and do a wedding or two with me?" And so that's what I did. And so while running the rehab clinic, I was, sort of, I guess, learning the craft, the true craft of photography. And during that time, I was working a lot of hours, handling the rehab clients, and then of course learning all of these new technical skills as I was trying to transition through. Ultimately, I have ended up getting evicted out of Sports Central because the new ownership came in, and new ownership decided to change everything. They pushed everybody out, trying to bring in their own thing. So I got pushed out of that gym and actually ended up landing in the gym probably about 4 or 5 blocks away. And that was, I believe they call it Richmond Sports Center at the time, or Richmond Sports Club at the time. And so I moved there. Oh no, it was Fitness Unlimited. That's what it was. So so I moved to Fitness Unlimited for a little while, and they had a spare room that they didn't use. So I ended up doubling that into half shooting space and then half rehab space. So I did both in tandem for quite a while. Some people who have been and maybe seen me in the early days would remember that room where it was truly just partitioned off, and it was just a cloth away from the rehab center. But I worked in there in tandem up until about 2008, where I finally decided I was able to wean off the last few clients who I'd been working with, and I promised them that I wouldn't ditch them and just drop them like a hot potato. I'd finish their work before I decided to fully move on. And that happened around 2008, 2009.
Wow. No, it's quite the transition. And so there's a lot of wear and tear on the body from the all the manual therapy and stuff. So you transition into photography, and then 2008, you basically went full bore with the photography. And then how long were you just doing the photography then?
Well, I mean, doing them in tandem, I would say that I would actually reached a full-time status right around 2006. So before the 2008 full closure. At that time, moving over to the gym, I was really more so tidying up the loose ends and making sure that the remaining clients, I actually stopped taking clients right around 2004, 2005, when I really first made that transition out of Sports Central. I really stopped taking new clients. And just continue to work with what was left. And I promised them that I wouldn't leave them, that I was transitioning out of it. So, I mean, I was still, wasn't working necessarily as much as when I was like sort of building both in that transition period. I went from like, what was at one point 80 hours ish a week, working between the two down to, by about 2008, I was probably maybe like 10 hours or so in the rehab center, doing that sort of stuff. And then the remaining time really trying to build the business for 360.
Okay. And then so I know you've kind of evolved from the photography into a full-blown media company. So when did 360 photo become 360 media?
So that was an interesting transition. I in 2008, I had officially managed to grow a couple of teams, and then we started to foray into photo booths. And really, at that time, it was really mostly focused on weddings. I really didn't have much of a corporate portfolio, if any at all. And I was very fortunate that one of my brides, she worked at a company called BDO, and they're an accounting firm. They're actually a national firm, and at the time they were looking for a person who could do headshots. And she asked if she could recommend me, and I said, oh, I would be totally like game for that. And So I did. So, they threw my name in the hat, and I got my first chance in there, and I managed to do their headshots, and the rest is history. They're still clients of mine, and it's really been a wonderful journey with them. But that was really the spark that ended up branching us from just weddings to wedding and corporate, and then eventually over time, as video transitioned out of tape to a digital medium and using the sort of technology that we're using today, I was able then to add that on. And it probably the switch over to media was probably closer to like 2013, 2014 is what I'm going to guess. Can't say exactly when that full transition happened. But yeah, it sort of moved over into being able to do both weddings and corporate all at the same time. So yeah, I was really fortunate to grow a team that way.
Oh, that's awesome. So, I saw your website. You have a lot of different services now. What are your primary services currently?
Well, because of the pandemic, a lot of our event stuff is kind of put on hold in the world. A lot of our portfolio actually circles around corporate events, so large conferences, big trade shows. So, because those are kind of on hold, a lot of our work is now in the marketing space. So we spend a lot more time in the headshots, product photos, educational videos, edutainment videos, so education entertainment style videos, things for web marketing promotion and showcasing of businesses. So that's what we're kind of focusing on in terms of production in this segment of time, kind of just waiting for events to come by. And then of course, in 2017, we split the wedding division to be completely separate because we wanted to have a more polished corporate facing company, and then we branded another branch for the wedding division itself.
Uh, so, do you primarily work with larger businesses then? Is that your clientele?
Um, the clientele that we serve are sort of twofold. We have the people who are their own mom and pop shop. So you're the people that you kind of are working with day in and day out, and they're looking just to promote their business. They're looking for another way to distribute, why they're good at what they do, why somebody should care. So we work a lot with those. And then the other part of who we work with are people who are agencies. So larger companies usually contact us through agencies, and they're running a lot of the strategy and stuff, so we don't actually have to do a ton of them. I mean, we do them, but more so in tandem with them. We let them take the lead, and of course then we just use our end of strategy to kind of make sure that we match the deliverables to them. But for the most part, agencies will then find us. So they'll say, hey, we have a project, we're doing web, we're doing websites, we're doing some stuff for social, we kind of need some material. Here's everything that we have about this company, can you help us? And we'll work with them to create a program, a set of deliverables that is going to help them move the needle sort of in a larger scale. But we take that sort of strategic discovery and pare that down for the mom and pop shop, because unfortunately, as you might have experienced in your own journey, marketing is not necessarily everybody's forte, and marketing can get quite expensive and extremely time consuming. And so more often than not, we're feeling lost, and we're feeling like we can't really get a lot of traction. That our stuff isn't standing out, and that we're not necessarily entirely proud of what we're producing, just because we're trying to save our money, right? Like small businesses have huge cash flow problems generally. They're spending it as fast as they're making it some days because they're just trying to grow. And as such, when you have that problem, it's hard to find a big agency to help them. And so, for us being, sort of aligned in both departments, like in the big world and in the mom and pops kind of world, we get to blend the two. And so we're able to give you strategy and real life sort of examples and wheels to the material that we're helping you produce. We're asking deeper questions that you might not necessarily know how to ask yourself, or even know that how it could be relevant to producing a piece of material that's going to come across your clients or your customers' face and stand out to them at that very moment.
Interesting. And now, so you guys help create like basically all types of content then, video, audio,
Yes.
like everything.
Yep.
Okay.
So, we do photo and video, is, of course, is our bread and butter. And then podcasting is something that we're really into. I think it's the wave of the future. It's something that it right now it doesn't seem like it's a big thing, but because the attention span is much greater, you're going to be listening to a podcast for 30 minutes, but most people won't watch a video for 30 minutes. So the actual amount of time that you're in this environment where we're watching videos on YouTube, you're not going to sit there and watch a 30-minute YouTube piece, but you would sit and listen to a 30-minute podcast in between while you're driving one place to another. So actually the longevity of your reach is actually quite a bit better. You're going to be able to create a lot more trust. And so, I've been helping clients do that. And then with that, we can expand on the content, break up that pieces of content so that can be used in sort of all sorts of mediums, whether it's for social media, Instagram, and whatnot. And if those people who are following will see that on our accounts and see how that sort of shows up.
Ah, very interesting. Now, you come from a photography background. So, how did you come to acquire these skills? You have a team of people that specialize in different things, and you just delegate. Like, how did your company evolve to have so many dimensions?
Well, I'm a firm believer is a person who owns a business, especially in the early stages. I don't necessarily believe in farming your work out to a person who is developing something new in your business that you end up being handcuffed to. I think it's a dangerous position to be in. So I would never hire somebody to say do web development without understanding how web development works. And so everything that I do or everything that our company does, I can do everything. So, but not that I do everything, but it means that I understand how everything is controlled. I know how to mitigate risk so that, say, if a client comes to me and I have a video editor today, and let's just say he quits tomorrow or for whatever reason, or he gets really sick, that I actually have the infrastructure in place that we're able to go and make sure that it doesn't look like there was a blip in the road at all. And that's peace of mind for a client, right? And so for me, it was having to learn everything. I've learned everything from web development, photo, video, operating photo booths, marketing, advertisements, Facebook advertisement, YouTube placements, audio, podcasting, all of that stuff I've learned all by myself. I take a enormous amount of time to invest in the education, so that I can make sure that I have a level and quality to maintain, and that a client can understand that no matter what, they're going to have somebody who knows the entire picture instead of just piecemealing it and then being handcuffed for whatever reason that might be.
Well, that's crazy, man. I mean, that's a lot of time and work and many hats to wear. That's a lot of very specialized knowledge in a lot of different areas to acquire. How long did it take you to learn all that stuff?
Still learning every single day. Doesn't stop. And whatever is coming. Like the latest one I'm learning now is Clubhouse, and those people who are listening and watching this, Clubhouse is the new social media app, and I'm in it on a daily basis, trying to learn the platform, trying to figure out what makes it tick, and then by that very nature, when I put somebody to place, I'll know what they're talking about. I'll know how that runs, and we'll know how to use a strategy that works in that particular platform. So I think it's important. And it's somebody in the field who's uh, in a place where we're trying to help a small business owner or even a large corporation propagate their material. Understanding it at a deeper level is really important. And if we don't take that time to do it, then we're doing you a disservice. We're taking advantage, and I'm not a person who does that. So we try to make sure that we run with very high integrity here at the studio.
Oh, that's awesome. And how big is your team now? How many staff do you have on board?
Well, we have three total that are full time, working day in and day out, and then we have a total of 14 total creatives. That work in tandem. COVID obviously has put a kibosh on a lot of the work that we would normally have some of our photographers or videographers out on assignment. But right now we're running with a total of three people. You know, which isn't too bad, I guess, if you consider how hard the economy is for many of us. We're very fortunate that we have people that believe in our work and are themselves thriving enough to be able to afford having us there by their side and helping them promote their business.
Oh, that's great, man. And I mean, you guys are marketing specialists, media specialists. What are the major struggles in your business that you have right now? Like what are you guys lacking that would take you to the next level?
Well, right now, customers, because customers are farther and fewer in between. I think everybody's feeling the pinch,
Yeah.
and I think what that means is cash flow. And cash flow, I think, is the killer of many businesses. And so we have to be very diligent about our cash flow situation at any given time. So it's balancing the advancement of our business and pushing certain products and services, um, but not overextending ourselves in case the winter goes longer, so to speak. Because right now the winter is here, and we don't know when it's going to end. I mean, every week we hope that better news is going to be in place, but because so much of our business really relies on sort of the event side of things to come back online, you know, even if they remove the restrictions today, it would still take an enormous amount of time, at least a year before major events would start to come back into the city, because it's not just us that needs to be released from confinement, but the cities and the companies from other places who host their events here in Vancouver, they have to be released and be able to travel as well. So that becomes a really big sort of variable in our equation. So we're focusing our time and attention on local marketing, and of course developing the new educational arm of our business.
Okay. Now I could speak a little bit more about that. What is this educational side that you're developing?
So what I've realized over the last little while, especially because I work with both agencies and then small business owners, that there's a gap, and it's a gap between where we are as people when we start off as merchants, when we're selling our products or service because we're so passionate about it, and you come to a point where you kind of start to look at what brand is. What does that mean for your consumer? How do you start to solidify a brand? How do you start to establish a level of credibility? And how do you know if this business and the alignment of that business is going to fulfill you as you grow? And so, because people can't necessarily go and jump into an agency and do all of this work because the price tag is too high, I found that there's a gap that I could fill. I could use all the knowledge that I've gained over the last 20 years in business, and be able to share that knowledge with other people. Because I know how to do a website, because I know how to do the advertisement, because I know how to do photo, video, audio, podcast, all of the above. And then of course I spend an enormous amount of time in the self-development space. I found my niche. I found a place where I could thrive and I can help other business owners thrive. And so I created a program called Tactical, which stands for accountable totally accountable coaching that impacts choices and lives. And so the whole premise of that is to have what I really call accountable coaching. It's when I tell you something, it's because I've done it. When I share with you something and try to help you explore what variable will work for you, I'm drawing on personal experiences from the ground up. I've built more than my fair share of businesses. The ones that we listed here are just a few, but the building of them are very similar. And I use this framework that I built 360, now Mapbox, which is our wedding division, and a few other businesses that haven't been mentioned here, but also our rehab business. We were mentioned in the beginning. I use this entire framework and I've distilled that down into repeatable steps. So the whole objective of Tactical is to help a business owner, a person who's just starting out or maybe a few years in, drawing an okay set of revenue, but looking to go to the next level. I help them build, automate, and then scale their business.
Oh, very interesting. And is there specific types of business owners that you work with or industries you specialize in, or just any small business owner?
Well, most of my experience is in the service industry. So I don't necessarily deal with products specifically, but the underlying foundation and the fundamentals of business, I think, are universal across every industry. And then from there, they're the nuances. So I would tell people that I'm like the GP. So I prepare you for the general diagnosis, help you get yourself on track, and then prepare you for the specialists. So I'll prepare you for your tax specialists, your legal specialists. I'll be the one to prepare you so that you can go to specific marketing specialists, like people who do specifically SEO, specifically copywriting, web development, so that you're going to speak at a level that you guys are going to have more sort of collaboration with, instead of them continually trying to dig for this information and you don't know what they're asking for. You're not quite clear because you yourself aren't clear about what it is that you want, or where you want to focus your business. And so those people that you hired as specialists, they're frustrated because you guys aren't speaking at the same wavelength, and you get a level of frustration because, well, you don't know what you're doing, and the person is like, well, you don't know what you want. And then you have this weird blow up, and it's not because the specialist was bad at what they did, it's because they needed certain pieces of information that you weren't able to provide them. But I wanted to create a piece and a course and coaching system that allowed a person to get to that point where you could talk to your accounting specialist, and you wouldn't have to be like, oh, I don't know what he's talking about. I don't know what a general ledger is. I don't know what my receivables are. I don't even know what my dashboards. I don't even know what's important, because that's what they're going to ask you. Well, what's important to you? And you, at first, you don't know because that's not what you did. You're good at selling or doing whatever it is we were doing. Money came in the door, and then you put the receipts in the shoebox. And that was it. But when you have that conversation with the tax specialist, they have all these questions and you don't know what to do. You don't know what to answer. But by going through this framework, you're going to build layer upon layer upon layer to a point where you're going to feel confident in opening those conversations with specialists in those arenas.
And is there like a time frame for your course? Is it like a 30-day thing, 60-day? How does your course work?
Well, the each module runs for approximately about 2 weeks. So the online segments are about 2 weeks. Coaching probably takes about 2 year program to kind of get enough systems and automation in place. By about halfway, you're going to be able to start talking to some of those specialists. So it accelerates. The first little part takes a little bit longer. It takes more time to get through the mindset, understanding the psychology, the things that cause you to have limiting beliefs, the reasons why you run into roadblocks, the reasons why you got where you are today. But and so that part usually takes the longest. That's probably about a 6 month, 7 month journey
Wow.
to get you to a point where you're really building a strong foundation for your business. That's understanding the branding, the graphic assets that you'll need to collect, your SWOT analysis, understanding what your strengths, your weaknesses, some of the obstacles that you're going to encounter, and some of the threats that are available in different tiers of business, above and below you, and then understanding how all those pieces work together. I mean, you could look all of these things up, and the problem is you'll do them, but you don't know how they fit together. You don't know how to use them, and you don't know if what you're doing is actually going to help you down the road, or is it just fluff. So for me, it's helping you coagulate all of that information in a way that you can build layer upon layer, and then you can see how that turns into brand, and that how that brand turns into a scalable entity. And then once you have scalable entity, we find ways to refine that process, automate it so that it can grow further. And then at that point, you're looking at specialists in the arenas to manage things like finances, your legal affairs. At first, most of the time, you're able to handle most of it on your own. I'm trying to take you out of being a technician in your space into working on your business as a business owner.
Oh, very, very interesting. And you got a lot, yeah, you have a lot of dimensions to your business. So not to, I want to just kind of take a step back here. So what are your primary services that you have then?
So the way that my business is structured, 360 is our primary entity. So they are the production company. We deal with all things media related to web and small business marketing. We don't necessarily go to huge print advertisements and or television campaigns, but we stay mostly where the SME space is. So most of the time that is maybe ground level flyers, in-store graphics and design, and then of course web marketing in itself. So anything related to those. Tactical is an education arm, and that has one-on-one coaching, as well as a program that we are taking online. And so we're developing the courses. They're not all complete. Our mindset course is set to be launched in a couple of weeks. So that'll be the first one. And then of course, everything else will follow thereafter. And that's based on the framework, but taking it from a coaching aspect and making sure that I have enough value for a person who's just taking it as a course on their own time. I want to make sure that we have enough material and enough congruency so that they are able to level up without as much one-on-one time. So that's that. And of course, then we have the wedding division, which is Mapbox Memories.
Okay. Okay. A little more clear now. No, it's awesome. That's great. I mean, it's very diverse and it's very in depth. What are what's the long-term goals? 3 to 5 years for 360 Media? Where do you see yourself and you guys?
Well, 360 Media is an automated company now. So for the most part, I don't have to be here to run it. So I get to watch over the people who are here running the day to day. And so I'm going to see that as an expansion and continue to grow that segment of business through sort of the scaling part of our framework. For me personally, most of my attention is going to be in tactical for the next little while as I help business owners build better businesses. And that will be through producing content for people. And then ultimately, when we're able to get back into meeting in person, is to create workshops and conferences to help business owners in that regard. So my whole premise is to reach 1 million plus people across North America and then impact as many as I can to help them build a better business.
Well, that's sounds amazing, man. I mean, it's a huge mission, and it's great to think big, and yeah, it's really impactful and influential. Similar to what we're trying to do. I mean, we want to help as many small businesses as possible and create a marketplace, a premier marketplace to discover all of the best small businesses around in any industry. So I mean, yeah, you gotta aim high and think big. That's awesome. That's very commendable. And again, because I've known you for so long, and I remember you back at Sports Central in that small little office doing your treatments and stuff to where you've come. It's a leaps and bounds, man. And I commend you for your efforts and your evolution.
Well, thank you so much, and same with you. I mean, having such adversity like COVID, completely helped you pivot to a new platform. That's no small feat. And what you're trying to do is amazing as well. Because if you think about it, for those people who are listening, small businesses are really the backbone of our economy. As much as we like look to the big box stores, the WalMarts, the Amazons, really the people that build our community are the small business owners. They're the ones who really bear the brunt of all of the pain that comes. And so when you're supporting a small business and you're supporting people, and platforms like Mom and Pop is going to be, that's really tremendous, because those are your neighbors, those are your aunts, your uncles, your friends who are in this economy trying to make a living for their family, and ultimately help share in their own community, whether it's at a church sporting event for the children, community events in general. It's not just the Walmarts and the Safeways and the big box stores. A small community, small business community really does contribute to the economy in a very large way.
Yeah, and I think this pandemic has shone a lot of light on that. People are starting to realize, oh wow, like small business really is the backbone, and people seeing their favorite businesses close down or have to shut down for extended periods of time, they start to feel it and they realize, wow, like this, like you said, this is what our community is all about, and we need to keep them alive, and we need to support them and do a better job of just
Yeah, absolutely. When you take
paying
a look at your
attention. Yeah, no, it's great. That's awesome.
yeah
Do you have any tips for fellow small business owners or anyone who's thinking about starting a business?
I think the most important thing, and I think, it sounds very cliche, and I think you find it all over the internet, is about really understanding what it is that you want. And I think trying to find a business that has longevity. And longevity really means that you have a level of fulfillment, because you'll inevitably find hard times. You're inevitably going to have rough patches in your business as you grow, as you scale, as you add a new employee and you have to fire those employees or whatever it might be. There's always a level of pain, and the entrepreneur journey, doesn't matter how big or how small you are, will always have that level of pain. And so it makes it a lot easier when you're deeply passionate about what it is that you do, and you find a fulfillment and alignment of that. It really does help make those bumps a lot more bearable to kind of weather through. And if you're in it, a business where you don't have an alignment and you don't feel fulfilled, and it's not helping you reach a life purpose or something that makes you happy or makes your heart sing, or whatnot, you're going to find that getting through that hump becomes arduous. And more often than not, you find this as, I call it another level of pandemic, where you see a person who starts and stops businesses all the time. They're always reinventing, creating a new business that's completely unrelated to the last business, and that works out for a couple of months, and then they stop, and then they start again, thinking that they're going to have a different result because they're chasing for what they think the one hit wonder. And the one hit wonders are really like, they're not very common. I mean, it sounds like they're common, but they're really not. There are thousands and thousands of businesses that start that never reach anywhere near that status, and you just hear about the mighty few that did. And so the few that did, maybe they are the disruptors of their industry, but not everybody is. And if you think of yourself as going to be a disruptor of the industry, that's a great thing to have, but you need to understand that the math, is against you. And rolling up your sleeves and putting in some hard work and finding a level of happiness to discover your own journey will ultimately lead you to better success and happiness and better alignment and authenticity, which is right now in this economy, authenticity is like king.
Oh, very, very well said. I couldn't agree more. I mean, entrepreneurship is no easy task. You're gonna have your speed bumps and your setbacks no matter what. It's what you do when you hit those speed bumps and setbacks that really separate you. So being able to persevere and endure the hard times will lead to more good times.
You betcha. It's just like going to the gym, right?
It,
We
honestly,
hate going to the
honestly,
gym.
I didn't want to use the analogy, but it is.
It is. It's every day you push yourself that 1% more, and that's where you grow. And you don't grow in the first two reps, you grow in the last two reps.
Hey, like I said, you said it, not me. Yeah, no, for sure. So, where can everyone find 360 Media?
Well, you can visit 360 Media at 360media.com, and you have to spell it out. And that's a mistake that I made early on. Is I should have used the number before people actually registered it, but didn't think about it at the time. It sounded cooler when I used the word. So THREESIXTYPHOTO or MEDIA if you want to use media. Both will work. As we evolved, I kept both. But you can reach me there, www.360media.com.
Very nice, very nice. Thank you for your time, Justin. Your journey is definitely, like I said, it's commendable. Knowing you for as long as I have, I tip my hat to you, and I wish you all the best moving forward in the future. And I'm sure our paths are going to cross again when once Mom and Pop, our app is ready to go and stuff. And who knows, maybe we'll reach out and we can connect and do some promotional work together.
Yeah, man, that'd be great. I mean, super awesome. It's super crazy to see, how that whole evolution is going to come to fruition. I'm super excited to see the app. Super excited to see what's to come. So, kudos to you.
No, I appreciate it, man. All the best, and yeah, we'll be in touch soon enough.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on today.
Okay, take care, Justin.